Hi there, my name's Tercy Engelhart, and I would like to welcome you to the Unreasonably Grateful podcast, Living in Grace by Choice. So every week, I begin the podcast by welcoming those of you who have been with me for a long time now. Welcome back. I'm grateful for your ongoing support and for the opportunity to be a part of your journey and the privilege of sharing my journey with you. And some of you may be listening for the first time, or maybe you just pop in from time to time, wherever you are on this journey. Congratulations on being on the journey, on taking on your inner life, and of sharing that with me. I'm grateful to have you here. I don't have your answers. Sometimes I think we do look for answers outside of ourselves. I know in our own business, the restaurant business, we oftentimes made some pretty significant financial errors by thinking somebody else knew better and hiring a professional. That didn't always work out that way. So I want you to trust that you have your own answers. However, sometimes by listening to somebody else's story, by them sharing their experience, we can hear something in a new way. We can hear something that perhaps we can't see in our own lives or in the lives of our family members or those people close to us. And we can hear it in a way that it opens something up and it gives us a little bit more freedom. Perhaps it gives you a clue or an answer or insights into something that guides you along your journey. That's my hope. My hope is that through my now 39 years of recovery after living from 16 to 36 years old, an addictive lifestyle, healing from teenage abuse, sexual abuse, and then living with an eating disorder for those 20 years. The wisdom I've gleaned in these 39 years of recovering those broken off pieces of myself are tidbits of really truths and age old wisdoms that I just am sharing in my own words, in my own way. And it's my hope that you hear something that moves you farther along your own journey and helps you discover the answers inside yourself. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm grateful that you're here. Um, the other thing is on Tuesdays, I do individual sessions. And what a session is simply the opportunity for myself as an elder to sit with you, to listen, and then to reflect back to you what I see and what I hear. And experience has told me that I always see and I always hear a grander vision of yourself than the one that you perhaps hold in your own mind based on your own past experiences, things that people have told you, things that you've come to believe are true about you, which may or may not be. And I have the opportunity to reflect back to you who I see and who I hear. And what I've learned is that that gives people a nudge or a little encouragement or a little inspiration to take the next step. This journey's not for cowards. It's not for chickens, man. It's a journey and it's ongoing. And I've had the luxury of living with and working with younger people than myself most of my life. And this particular episode is based on some of the conversations that have come up over the past couple of weeks. And the title of it is Acceptance is the Key. So, what I want to say about that is most of you are probably familiar with the serenity prayer that's very common in 12-step groups. And some of the lines of that are, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, as well as the courage to change the things that you can and the wisdom to know the difference. But I want you to consider that our inability, yours and mine, and our inability to accept what we can't change and instead get caught up in the circumstances or in our efforts to change it, rip us off of our inner peace or our serenity. They rip us off of peace of mind, peace of soul. They rip you off of the present moment, which is the only place you have any power. It's the only place that love exists. And it'll throw you into the future or it'll drag you back into the past. And so I want to say something about that. Acceptance doesn't mean that you like it. It doesn't even mean that you agree. It means that there are those things that you can't change, that you have no power over, at least not right now. And that may be a person, It may be a situation or a circumstance. It may be something in your life. And acceptance is actually the key to being able to maintain your own inner peace, to not rip off yourself, your life, your day, your hour, your minute, the precious time called your life, to not rip you off of that and throw you into a place where you have no say, no ability to impact it, which would be either past or the future. And it completely takes you out of the present moment, which is the only place where you have any power. It's the only place where love exists. And so acceptance is simply, okay, I get it. This is the way it is. This is how it is right now. And you get to look and see, what do you need to be responsible for? What do you need to do to be able to take care of yourself? What choice do you need to make right now? It doesn't mean that you have to do something about what it is that you're struggling to accept, but it does mean you get to take responsibility and perhaps do something about the impact that you're allowing that to have on your life. Because that's what you do have a say over. How you respond to someone or something in your life that you're struggling to accept does dictate the experience of that minute, that moment in your life that you're having. And you get to say how that goes. You may not get to change the circumstance or the setup or the person or the way the person is behaving or not behaving or what they're doing or not doing, but you can't change that. So don't give up your precious life for something that you can't change. Instead, invest in what you do have a say about. And what you have a say about is your experience of that person, place, or thing. Okay? So, how do you do that? That's a great question, huh? How do you do that? Well, I'm just going to share with you how I do that. First of all, I usually sigh. And I think what that breath does is it helps me just return to my own center. It lets me feel perhaps my disappointment, my discouragement. It has me confront perhaps my expectation and the joy that that expectation is ripping me off of. It just allows me to kind of get back into my body in the here and in the now. And then I ask myself, okay, well, how do I want to respond? What is it that matters most to me? These are questions I ask myself internally. What is it that matters most to me right now? And how do I want to respond? And sometimes perhaps I separate myself from the situation. Sometimes I clean up a mess. But always I stay peacefully centered in my own world, my own experience, not letting myself defend, protect, judge, opinionate about anything. I simply stay out of my mind and stay in my heart. And then I act accordingly with what it is that does matter most to me, or what I do have a say over. And that helps me maintain that peace of mind. It helps me live in that state of serenity, stay serene in the face of whatever the situation or circumstance might be. I want to just share one more thing. My family were friends with a pilot who lived across the street from us when I was a child, when I was probably 10, 11. And he was shot down and was a prisoner of war in the Vietnam War. He was a POW for 7.5 years in the famous now Hanoi Hilton. And he lived in a 7x7 concrete cell with something they call a honeypot, just a very rudimentary toilet. And for 3.5 years, the first 3.5 years of his confinement, he was in solitary. He saw no one, talked to no one. and how he kept his serenity was remembering fond memories, was remembering stories of the people he loved, and remembering smells of the food that he enjoyed, and hearing the laughter. So it was all inside. It was a complete internal experience of allowing him to stay centered in the joys and the good times, even though he was in what for most of us would be a living hell. And so I noticed I was talking to my husband this week about what are some of the small, insignificant things that bring you joy throughout your life. And I know I did a podcast on this not long ago. And for both of it's small things like walking outside and smelling a wood burning fire, or the sound of leaves falling as autumn is here. Or as I shared with my sister, the salt on a saltine, something so insignificant and yet oftentimes taken for granted, and yet something that can be a great source of joy. So as you work on accepting what is difficult for you to accept, at the same time work on cultivating your joy, your enthusiasm, your gratitude for the simplest things in your life. And see if you can't not only stay present, but also experience the great joy of being you and being alive. And I'll see you next week, and I'll be right here, and I look forward to it. Have a beautiful week.